Hey, welcome, it's Chris here. Now in this video, we are going to attempt to build this money counter app. And we are going to do it with Windsurf and AI coding. So I'll show you how to set up this IDE for iOS development. And so you don't need to know anything prior. And then I'll show you the process I use to take it from app idea, using prompting to do some research, using UX Pilot to do some initial UI designs, how to then translate that into Windsurf. And yeah, let's get started. So first of all, you have to go to windsurf.com and you have to download this IDE. You can use it for free. Everything actually that we talk about in this video, you can actually use for free. But go ahead, download this, install it, and then when you open it, it'll ask you to either log in or create an account. All right, so you've got Windsurf installed, you have logged in or created a new account, and you are at this screen. Now yours might look a little bit different because you can pick a different color scheme and things like that. So the first thing we're going to do before we even start a new project is to customize this environment for iOS development. On the left-hand side, you're going to see a bunch of icons going down the side, and you want to go to extensions. We're going to install two different extensions here, Swift and SweetPad. So in the search bar, you can search for Swift, and you'll see a whole bunch of different extensions. I can't tell you how they differ or which one's the best, because I am also relatively new at this. But the one that I have chosen to install is this one by Swift Lang. Okay, so this is Swift for Visual Studio Code. If you're not familiar why Visual Studio, you might understand that's another IDE, but we're using Windsurf is because Windsurf is built off of Visual Studio, as far as I understand. And that's why all these Visual Studio extensions also work here. And so we want to install this one, also SweetPad. You might have to search for this as well. And this is another thing that's going to get us closer to making Windsurf like Xcode. So you can see down here, it helps you do all of these things. I think probably the most useful is managing the iOS simulators, because it's going to let us build and run the simulators, launch our app in the iOS simulator directly from Windsurf. So go ahead and install those two extensions. Now, if you run into any problems installing these extensions, perhaps you get a little pop-up in the lower left-hand corner saying, oh, I couldn't find this, or there's this error or that. What actually helps is to ask the AI on the right-hand side here that you're trying to install these extensions and you're running into these problems, and literally copy and paste the error and ask it. It'll either fix it for you or it will tell you how to go about fixing it. Now, after you install these two extensions, there are a few more things we want to install to make it as Xcode-like as possible. In the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see this toggle panel for the bottom panel, and it's Command J, so you can actually just press that to toggle. And we're going to need access to this terminal because we are going to install some more packages through Homebrew. If you've never heard of Homebrew before, it is a package manager for Mac OS. And a package, you can think of it as essentially extensions, but this one is going to be for your Mac rather than for Windsurf specifically. So there are a few that we're going to install here. This one, Xcode Build Server. This package allows you to build Xcode projects with other IDEs. So this is perfect for Windsurf. Another one is iOS Deploy. This one installs and debug iPhone apps on or from the command line. Another one here, XC Beautify. It's going to just make the output prettier and easier to read, essentially. And Swift Format for formatting and reformatting Swift code. So how do we go about this? The first step is just to make sure that you have Homebrew installed. And you can type in a command down here, or you know what, you could actually even ask AI. Let's show that. Do I have Homebrew installed? Because it will tell you the command to run, or it'll run it for you. All right, so it's going to run this command, brew space -- version. You could literally type that in here, but why do that when you can just accept? Actually, it would have been faster, right, if you had typed it out yourself. So maybe using AI for everything is not the best option. So yes, I do. I have Homebrew 4.5.0 installed. If you don't, then you go ahead and install Homebrew. Again, it's probably easier just to tell AI, hey, can you install Homebrew for me? It'll tell you the command to run and you just hit accept. Otherwise, you're coming back here and you are going to be following this set of instructions to install Homebrew. So after Homebrew is installed, it becomes very, very easy to install the rest of these packages. It gives you the exact command. So this is just brew install Xcode build server like that. You can even copy it from here, go back here, and you can just paste it and hit enter. Now I've already got this installed, so it is going to update it and just tell me that I have it already installed and up to date. And you're just going to repeat this with these 4 packages that we talked about. Just copy each one, paste it into the terminal, and build and run. Now, if you have any sort of error that comes up as you're doing that, again, you can copy and paste the error into AI and say, I'm having trouble installing this package. Can you help me out? While we're setting things up, another thing I would consider is connecting Windsurf to any tools we would need to use for this project through MCP. So for example, if you are connecting to a database, then one tool you might want to use is Supabase or Firebase or something like that. There are a whole bunch of different ones. So here's Supabase. And if you haven't heard of MCP, I actually did a lot of videos recently talking about it, but essentially it allows your IDE, such as Windsurf, to connect to external tools and to be able to use them. Just bring them directly into your project. So that way it saves time, gives your IDE extra capabilities and things like that. Another one which may be useful is Figma. For example, this one allows Windsurf to go directly into your Figma file for design, and it gets context of what you're trying to build. So it can understand and just generate the code more in the fashion of how you designed it. So this might be helpful if you design the app in Figma first, or you got a designer to do that for you. That's another option. So I want to show you how to connect Windsurf through MCP to tools like these. But what I do want to show you, another option, is Zapier MCP. They are the sponsor of this video. The unique thing about this is that they'll host the server for you. You just specify the URL for Windsurf to connect to, and then you can customize any tools you want this MCP server to have access to. So you don't need to know code, or don't need to set up any servers or things like that, whereas tools like these have a few more setup steps. So let's take a look at how this works, and you can learn how to connect it to MCP servers. So to get to this landing page, check out the link in the upper right-hand corner or the link in the description below. We're going to take a look at this together. So click Get Started. You either have to sign in to an existing account or create a new account. You can use this for free, by the way. I didn't mention that. So you can have 300 tool calls per month. Let's set up a brand new MCP server and select Windsurf as our client. So since I've done this before, let's just call this 2. And let's add different tools. So you can see here, Zapier connects to 7,000 different apps. Chances are you'll find something useful. One thing that I do find really useful is to be able to generate images with DALL-E. So we can connect this to OpenAI, and you can choose different actions because they're essentially, you're giving your IDE different capabilities. This is one that I like to use because you don't have to go open DALL-E in a separate tab, prompt it, generate images, download it to your desktop to import it into your project. With this tool call, Windsurf will be able to generate the image immediately and then just pull it into the project automatically. And because I've set this up before, it just let me create this action or create this tool. For you, if this is your first time doing it, it'll ask you for an API key, and I'll walk you through the instructions to do that. Next, we want to go to connect, and we want to copy this, and we want to set this up inside Windsurf. Just have to paste it. Let's go ahead, open up Windsurf. The easiest way to do this is in the lower right-hand corner, right above the AI chat box, there is MCP icon. It looks like a little hammer. If you click that and then go over to configure, it'll bring you to the right file to paste that piece of code. And what you're going to want to do is actually, so in this case, it detected it, but in some cases, it'll just squiggle line it and tell you that there's something you need to change. So actually, you want to just change this to server URL, like that, instead of just URL. So go ahead, press Command S and save it. And then if you go back down to the lower right-hand corner under MCP, if you click the hammer again and you click refresh, it should pick up that it is now connected to Zapier MCP. And just like that, it's connected to this MCP server, and you can just add more tools that you want to have access to, you know. Very helpful, very useful stuff. All right, with all of that setup out of the way, let's get started on our iOS development. All right, let's first understand what we're building and where it comes from. So I have a notebook, which I'll link to in the description below as well, of different keyword ideas that I've found with Astro, a keyword tool that I covered in this video over here. And this allows me to look for low competition but decent traffic keywords to build apps around to try to capture that organic traffic, which means that we don't have to do as much marketing, or maybe even perhaps we can rely on organic app store traffic if the app ranks well. One of those keywords, which I was thinking about showcasing right now, is money counter. So competition is below 50, which is what we're looking for, and popularity is above 20, which is also what we're looking for. And taking a look at the ranking apps for this keyword, I can see that there are a lot of individual developers, which is good news for me. In terms of the new ratings, they're in single digits, which is also good. And also not everyone is targeting the keyword money counter. So all those are good things. Now, where I take it from here after finding out the idea is I do a bit of research on it using AI again. So I used ChatGPT, but you can use anything you'd like, Claude, DeepSeek, whatever, and it'll all work the same way. But essentially, I ask it a couple of questions. I ask it, what's the primary problem that these apps solve that come up when I search for this keyword? Because I want to build an app that satisfies the search intent. So if someone's searching for money counter, I want to understand what it is that they're looking for, and the app that I'm building should solve that problem. The core problem is there's a lot of cash-based businesses that need to count money. So, okay, that makes sense. I ask it some follow-up questions. If I were to choose one main piece of functionality to implement, because I want to launch quickly, so I don't want to build out all these features. I want to build like the main one. What would that be? And then it gives me that. And I also want to understand monetization preferences and that I could charge for this app. Would people be willing to pay for a subscription? Because subscriptions bring in more money. As an app developer, that's important. But not all apps make sense to charge a subscription. So that's what happened with this app. It's not likely that I could charge a subscription for this because many people, competitors who have probably done this research already, are not charging subscriptions. And it really doesn't make sense in this case because it's more of a utility, a tool that doesn't have ongoing cost. So I do some of that research. And I also talk about imagining if I were to build the first version and continue working on it, what would V2, V3, V4, what would that look like? And so I ask the AI to imagine that for me, that sort of roadmap. So I take all of this into consideration and decide, is this something I want to build or not? And if it is, then I will ask it to develop or to think about the user flow for the core functionality. So to help me imagine how the user would use this app. And it lists out all these different features. That's great. But then I ask it to describe that and break it down in a way for a designer. Because as a designer who needs to design screens, they need to know what's on each screen. So this is a helpful way to organize all of those like different features into screens. So that's what it's done here for me. Here's the splash screen, and then here's like the onboarding, here's the main count screen. And so what this allows me to do is take these bits of information that describe each screen and put it into another AI tool called UX Pilot, where it can generate first pass designs based off of what AI has told me it should be on that screen. So keep in mind right now, I've literally just been typing prompts. I have not been using my brain at all so far, just passing information from one tool to the next. Now, these designs aren't crazy, but I feel like they are good enough to do like a V1, like a very prototypey type of app that you can launch and then iteratively improve upon it. So in this Windsurf demo, I want to build this one. This is the main core functionality here. Now this tool I also listed in another video over here, which you can check out. It's just pretty cool because you can just prompt it and it will generate these designs, and you can also edit individual designs by prompting it again to remove or add different elements, and then you can scroll through different versions that you've prompted. Anyways, because we're just building one screen, you probably could just download this as an image and then upload it to Windsurf, like in a chat right here, and tell it to build this UI and make it work. But I'm not going to do that because I want to show you how I would do it as a process to build out the entire app. I won't build out the entire app in this demo, but I will show you like the actual process that I use. So anyways, so far, so good. At this point, I do have enough information to start the actual development. So I will go ahead and launch Xcode and create a project. So I'll go under iOS, create app. Let's call this Windsurf Money Counter, Swift UI and Swift. Click on next. And then I'm just going to save it on my desktop because I have the actual money counter app that I'm working on. So let's click create, and there it is. I actually don't need Xcode anymore because we have set up Windsurf to do so much iOS stuff. The next thing I would recommend is to put it into a repository so that you can track changes, especially because Windsurf may mess up your project. If you are not from a coding background and you have no idea what source control is, just don't worry about it. You can gloss over this part. Essentially, it's a way for you to do versioning. The best way to describe it would be like in a document. For example, in a document like this, like a Google Doc, you can look at the version history if you click on this little button. If you have different versions, you can jump back and forth between the different versions. That's essentially what source control is, but it's for code. And yeah, it takes a while to set up. If it's your first time, it takes a while to wrap your head around, so I wouldn't bother. What I would recommend you instead is literally, if you have a working project, just duplicate the folder and there's your backup copy. Just remember to write some notes for yourself, perhaps like the last thing that was working, whatever. And when Windsurf messes up your project, you can always revert to this step by going to, and then if Windsurf does mess up your project, you have that folder backup, that low-tech method. You also have the undo button, which is to revert all the changes that Windsurf did for your last prompt. So that's really helpful too. Now, however, if you do know what source control is and you have worked with GitHub or Bitbucket or whatever you use, go ahead and set that up. And that's what I would make sure that I do next. Okay, so we can open up our Xcode project inside Windsurf now. So go ahead and go open folder. And then we're going to go to where we saved it. Open that up, and we're going to see all the files here. Before we get AI to generate any code, we want to make sure that we keep it on the rails as much as possible, because sometimes it can do a lot of unexpected and unwanted things. One way we can control it is to specify rules. Now, whether you're using Windsurf or Cursor or any other IDE, there is a way to specify this sort of stuff. So you go under Windsurf settings, and then go to Windsurf settings, and you just search for rules. You're going to see under memories and rules an option to specify global rules. So this will affect all your AI chats. What we're going to paste here is a collection of rules that I have found from other people, stand on the shoulder of giants, and also what I've observed AI mess up, and then adding to the rules so that it doesn't mess up again. So credit to where credit is due. Where I got my first foundation set of rules is from AI Jason on YouTube and Matthew Berman also on YouTube. So kudos to them. Thank you for sharing your rules. So I just paste them here. And this is stuff like, make sure you use this instead of this, make sure you do it this way instead of that way, don't do this, always do this, like that sort of stuff. So you're customizing your AI to behave in a certain way. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the stuff here because it's quite a bit, but essentially it is giving your AI some guardrails. Okay. So you want to specify global rules. And then next, we want to specify a set of requirements for our project and have the AI follow it step by step. So building out feature by feature. And we're going to do that by adding an instructions folder. No, I don't really want to put it in there. Let's just put it in, just put it on the outside here. And then this is where I would put those screenshots as well as an instructions file. Let's create the file first, go new file, and we're going to type in instructions.md, the markdown file, and we're going to specify the project requirements here, but we are going to get AI to generate them. So this is the conversation which I've been having with AI regarding the money counter app, and it has context of everything that we've talked about. So now I can give it a set of instructions to essentially generate a set of instructions for building it. So this would be what I would tell it. So help me write an implementation guide for a developer. It should just start, it should give the overview. It should include the file structure. It should be, yeah. So let's see what it gives us, because I actually haven't done this for the money counter app just yet. So actually, I don't need, there's a lot of stuff here that I don't think was part of the core functionality, like ProPack flow. No, so I am actually going to just modify that prompt. I'm going to modify that prompt, and I'm going to say specifically for the core functionality. For the core functionality of money counter app. Okay, let's try that again. And then what I would do is copy and paste that into Windsurf, that instructions. But let me just download this first. Actually, let me just prompt it. I want to remove the counts cleared. So I'm going to say, keep everything the same, but just remove the counts cleared toast pop-up. It's going to generate a V3 for me. So hopefully it does what I'm asking, because you never know with AI. And let's switch tabs back to here. Take a look at what it's got here. Functionalities and pages, main count screen, clear and undo flow. Okay. Okay, that's good enough. Let's see if I can copy all of that. And then essentially we will paste it into right here. And it's broken it down into numbers somewhat. We've got step 3.1, 3.2. And then we are going to check on our UX pilot right now. Yeah, so remove that toast message. Perfect. Now I will re-export this as an image, and I'll save it on my desktop. Now see, this is the cool thing, because you can click these arrows and you can go back to V2 or V3. And then also we will drag and drop that to here. There's our image. Right, so the first thing I can do is just refer to that image and refer to the instructions. So you use the @ symbol, and I would say the instructions.md, and I would just add, I should have named this file depending on what the screen was. So with the context of these two, and also with the context, I like to give it the context of the file, the app entry point. All right, like that one. So what we're trying to build here is just 3.1. So let's build step 3.1 from the instructions. Think through what you'll do step by step. All right, that looks good. It's doing its thing. Analyzing files to understand the project. Use USD denomination and get started. Okay, so it was spinning its wheels for, I would say, 5 to 6 minutes. Now let's see what we got. We probably have a bunch of build errors is what I would expect. If you go under SweetPad here, you are going to see this, but what we actually have to do is click on this magnifying glass for the first time, go show and run commands, and generate a build server config, this one. Okay, so that's what we want to do. And we want to choose this as our scheme. And what you should see after doing that is this, which contains all the configuration info when you want to build and run. And now we can actually build and run. So go ahead and hit run. Oh, you have to switch to the SweetPad tab. Sorry for forgetting to mention that. I'm going to choose 16 Pro, and it's going to launch it. And hopefully it doesn't give us an error, but it generated a lot of code. I think it will break. I think there are things to fix. Yeah. Denomination is ambiguous. Oh man, yeah, so if I go into Xcode and I take a look at what it's done, it went crazy. So let's do a project-wide search for denomination, specifically probably struct denomination. Look, it declared it twice. So here is one, and it declared it here as well. So that's why it is erroring out. So I'll probably just get rid of this. Look, it just duplicated the code. Looks like the exact same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to actually delete this entire file. Revealing Project Navigator, I'm just going to delete it. Or I can delete it from the other place. Let me see, content. Yeah, I probably shouldn't be in content view. What is it doing in here? Let's get rid of it here. Save it. You can see I still jump back to Xcode to really debug, look through the project. And I just mainly use this to generate the code. But as of this recording, Apple is incorporating something into Xcode. I think it's Claude, was it? Okay, so here it's probably the same thing here. Invalid calculation service, come on. And this is what it is like though. Calculate, oh, this is a Claude. Check this out. Probably did the exact same thing. Yeah, so we can get rid of this. It just duplicated a whole bunch of stuff. Probably the haptics manager too. Calculation service, count view model. Yeah, it did this too. It just put a whole bunch of stuff into the content view. Let's get rid of it like this. Declaration of this too. Oh, this is view model. This is view. Main count view. Yes. I think we do have this in two different places as well. Yeah, see, it's right here. Why is this here? All right, now let's give it another go. After getting rid of, oops, that's not the one I wanted to open. Let's go back to Windsurf and click build and run again. So here's the thing, like if you did not have any basic understanding, we weren't even really looking at code, right? It was just all about using Xcode, understanding what a struct, like how to declare a struct, how to declare class. If you don't know that basic syntax, you wouldn't be able to even do what I'm doing right now. But to anyone who has even spent a little bit of time with Swift, they can understand what I'm doing right now. And they can understand, you know, how to navigate Xcode, how to look for the duplicates, find and replace, that sort of stuff. So it goes a long way. I feel like you do need to know the basics a little bit. So I don't need this as well. Yeah, so for someone who doesn't know how to read the code or Swift code, they might be banging their heads around quite a bit to try to resolve these errors or ask AI to fix them, where I just deleted a couple of lines and now it's building, right? If you had asked AI to fix that, I'm sure it would do this roundabout thing to try to figure out what's wrong, and then probably not do the right thing in the end of the day. Holy cow, what is happening here? Is it actually working? This is not even working. So how I would proceed with this is that I would open up a new chat. So this is one tip, is that each conversation should be related to one thing. So if you're fixing a bug, after it's fixed it, start a new conversation. So it doesn't carry the context of what we were working on before. So this is a new thing I'm asking it to fix. So what I would probably tackle first is that none of these buttons actually work to do. So I would say the subtract and add buttons are not working. They are not changing the total at the top. Other things you can do, you can take a screenshot from the simulator and then you can upload it so that you can show what it's looking like. Another thing you can do is you can tell AI to add debugging statements, which it actually has right here. And so then you can refer to the debug log here and you can say, look at the sequence of events that I've done interacting with the UI, and the output is not what I expected. So it will be able to read this log and be able to trace exactly how you've been interacting with the app. And it'll see, oh yeah, the result is not what we expected. Okay, so we're just gonna accept all and we're going to run it again. And we're gonna try it. So typically we'll focus on getting working functionality before nitpicking about the UI. Like in this case, this UI isn't what I expected, right? It's not even that close to this. But granted, I didn't tell it to follow it exactly. More of, I think it took it as a reference. I don't think it did anything. Still not working. Okay, so after 5 more minutes of it doing a whole bunch of random stuff, let's see what we have. It's kind of like a slot machine. Oh, great. I am going to tell it that I'm getting an error here. Okay, so after completely botching up the project, it was just spinning out of control. I decided to stop it because I could see from the things that it was trying, that it was just getting farther and farther from it. So let's reset. Let's call this a false start. If I had set up source control for this, I would just revert everything and start from scratch, but I didn't. So what we can do is we can revert to the previous conversation. So we can click this button to go to past conversations. We can go back to, not this one, but it was this one. Sorry, it was this conversation where we started off. And even though I hit revert, it created, like, all the folders are still there. So I guess it can't revert the folders that it created. What we probably could do is do that hard reset we talked about, because we did create a backup here, right? But let's see what happens if I just revert here, and I'm going to give it slightly different instructions. I'm going to say, let's build let me just reference the instructions again. Okay, let's build step 3.1 and 3.2 from the instructions. Follow the image attached. Make the UI look like the attached image. All right, just gonna ask it to do that. I'm just gonna hit go. All right, so it's finally finished spinning. Let's go ahead and build this app again and run it and see what we got. See what we have. It worked on the first try. It looks the same. Oh, but this time it actually works. Yeah. It's a slot machine. It actually works. Nice. Yeah, so it doesn't quite look like our screenshot though. Oh, look at this Toastmaster. Oh, the undo button worked. That's like a little bonus surprise there. Does that go away though? Does this go away? The toast message doesn't go away? Okay. Well, I guess that's okay. Just now we start a new conversation. I wonder if we can get it to just more clearly follow this design that we had, right? Because it really doesn't match the design here. I'm just going to say, and take a screenshot of this, and I am going to do this. So I'm going to reference this design, and I'm also going to attach, there's an image button here. I'm going to attach the screenshot that we took. And I'm going to say, the counting screen doesn't look like the designed. Can you modify it to match the design? All right, and we'll let it spin again and see what happens. Okay, we're back. Let's take a look. It's finally saying it's done. And it took maybe about another 6-7 minutes. See what it's done. Launch the app. I feel like the UI is worse than it was before. What happened? Is Windsurf blind? I'm confused. Can you match the design? And then it turned out even worse than before. I guess I have to be very specific, right? Maybe I should tell it to, instead of having 2 columns, to have a single column, right? And to have it span across. Although arguably, if I were counting money, right? This would be a better user interface than this one, right? Because I wouldn't want to scroll up and down to find the denomination. I would rather see more denominations at once and just reduce having to scroll. I guess the danger of this UI on the right is that you might accidentally tap the button that you didn't intend to, whereas this is very clear. You're either tapping the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen. And if you can see quite a few denominations here. I guess that's arguable. But anyways, I think we've run into a little bit of a roadblock. I'll probably have to prompt it a little more. Instead of just so broad saying, match that UI, I'll probably have to tell it specifically what to do. And that's going to take a little finessing. That's what I meant with using this AI coding stuff, is like, you can get 80% of the way there really quickly, but then nitpicking it on little things, it's just really hard to do, or it takes a lot of time to do. And so I think this is a good place to leave off, just because we've covered how to set up Windsurf for iOS, how to get started building iOS apps with AI, how to do some troubleshooting like we've covered, how to work with AI while you're trying to build these apps. And then it's just a matter of the circular process of just prompting AI and slowly fine-tuning it to get it to what you want. But remember, either use source control or this low-tech backup method, because as you've seen, it can mess up your project. It's hard to go back even though you press this revert. So always have a emergency backup. So hope you found that useful, at least to get started, at least start to see some of your ideas come to life. It's not so magical like all of the other people are saying. You just prompt it, boom, you get this beautiful product out. No, it's just, it still takes like a lot of time. It's just a different way that you're spending your time. And also reiterating the fact that learn some Swift UI and Swift basics. It's going to help you along. We have a ton of videos on this channel to help you with that. We have the CWC Plus Foundations course to help you with that. You know, just like a 30-day investment to get this baseline of knowledge for Swift and Swift UI will help you use these tools a lot more effectively and save you time in the long run if you're thinking about doing this for a while. All right, with that said, I hope this was helpful. Comment below. Let me know what else you'd like to see, and I'll see you in the next video.